In my financial career, I've taken over the New York Stock Exchange and I know how to make money move. Now, I'm inviting you to get all the way in your bag and never look back. Hey everyone, welcome to With the Bag to Match, proudly presented by SpringHill and JP Morgan Wealth Management. I'm your host, Lauren Simmons. On this show, we sit with extraordinary women as they share insights on how they claim their financial power and celebrated their wins. Later, our JP Morgan Wealth Management advisor will deepen the conversation with more insights. In today's episode, I have the honor of sitting down with a true luminary in the entertainment industry, a multi-talented Emmy-winning TV personality. Join me in welcoming the extraordinary Adrienne Bailon-Houghton.
I initially got the bag when I was 15 years old and joined a girl group called 3LW. From there, I then joined a girl group called the Cheetah Girls on Disney Channel, fumbled the bag a few times and got another bag with another girl group called The Real, a daytime television show. I would say my superpower in business would be just living authentically and knowing the things that I love and that I need and bringing that to the marketplace.
Well, first off, thank you, Adrienne, for being here. I am so excited to dive into this conversation.
Same. I'm super excited to talk all things fine. I feel like I'm going to learn a lot today as well.
Yeah.
So I'm
going to learn from you. It's to me mutually beneficial to each other.
It.
You've been working since you were 14 years old. At that age, what was your understanding of the money that you were making?
Honestly, I had no concept of the money I was making. I think when you start a career at like 14, 15 years old, and for me, my first real job, I used to sweep floors at a Dominican hair salon when I was like 14, and that was so that I could get my hair blown out.
Yeah.
So I never had any real money exchange there. It was like, okay, I'm sweeping these floors, I'm gonna get a free blowout with this hair right here, and then my next job was being in 3LW. And I think joining a girl group and joining the industry, I remember telling my mom, I would do this for free. And she was like, do not walk around telling people that. She's like, that is not what we're gonna do. We are not doing this for free. But the reality is, I felt so honored, and it was an opportunity of a lifetime. I think when you grow up from very humble beginnings, I grew up in the projects on the Lower East Side of Manhattan, and we didn't have much. So just being given that opportunity at 15 years old, I really didn't care about what I was getting paid. I was just excited to be there. And I regret that. I kind of regret not being in the know and understanding, okay, I just got my first record deal. What does that mean? The fact that I actually wasn't signed directly to the label and that it was through a production company and they received, you know, our advance and what that meant. I mean, there was so much that I learned in a short period of time of just simple things like the fact that the money that you get is actually to create the album and that you will have to pay that back. And so I think at 15 years old, I was clueless and learning little by little.
That actually is a really good point. Do you remember the first lesson you ever learned about managing money?
I learned a lot about managing money, but the one that impacted me the most, that really made me say, okay, Adrienne, you've got to get your finances under control. You've gone too long making money to not understand what your money is doing. And that actually was when I joined The Real. I had to relocate to LA, and I went into this amazing building across from the Grove. I was like, oh, I picked a fly spot. And I went into the leasing office to sign up and be like, okay, this is the apartment I want. I just got a tour of it, and now I'm ready to sign my lease. And they were like, amazing, we're just gonna run your credit, and we've got paperwork here. Well, my credit was tragic. And they ended up saying, listen, we can't lease you this apartment. Is there anyone that can co-sign for you? And I remember standing in that leasing office just thinking to myself, wow, I would consider myself a successful person. I've done really well for myself. I've been in this industry for such a long time. I'm about to be on a daytime talk show. Like, this is major. And I can't even get the apartment of my dreams because I need someone to co-sign. And at the time, I remember being like, why is my credit bad? Not even understanding why it was bad. Turns out you got to return those cable boxes when you move. So that was what had been killing my credit. And I didn't even know it. Wasn't checking my voicemail. They definitely had called and sent messages. I wasn't even aware, just living my best life. And here I am with terrible credit. Thank God my sister actually co-signed for me. But that embarrassment in that office really told me, Adrienne, you've got to get a hold of these things. And then I had to ask myself, why wasn't I aware of it? And the reality is, I think when we talk about generational wealth, my mom didn't know enough to teach me. And so I, in that moment, was like, I want to be knowledgeable enough so that one day I have children, I can impart this wisdom on them so that they don't have to go through the same things. When I turned 18 years old and like credit cards came in the mail, I think coming from, you know, first generation in this country, my mom was like, you don't want to end up in debt.
Yeah.
And told me not to sign up for any of the credit cards and that everything I did really was cash or my debit. And what does that land me? That lands me at a really low credit score because I've never proven that I can be trusted with money to pay it back.
Yeah. I want to hear more about your experience growing up in an immigrant family because the approach to money is often very different.
So different.
How did your upbringing influence your views on money today?
When we talk about being from an immigrant family, I think that there was a lot of things we didn't know. And again, my mom was always like too cool to maybe ask the questions. And maybe that's where I learned like, okay, we're just trying to fit in here.
Yeah.
And I wish that I would have, again, asked more questions, but I wish that my mom was more knowledgeable because I really think that could have guided me. So it's kind of funny that like now I'm the one teaching my
her,
mom and I feel really proud of that, but that won't happen to the next generation. That my son, literally from now, I'm like, how can we start savings accounts for him at this? He's a year old and I'm thinking ahead of, you know, a college fund. How do we start raising money for his education? And I'm excited about that. I'm really excited about he will now be second generation in this country and how that is going to be just so different for him.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming.
Oh, yeah. Hair and makeup. And bring that plate in and farewell.
A spend I can't resist would be family vacations. Like, I am all about spending money on dope experiences that you will never forget, making the memories and making them luxurious. So let's go there first class. When we arrive, let's stay at an amazing hotel. And on top of that, maybe let's do like a boating excursion. Yeah, these things cost money. Woo, so I have spent the last 2 years renovating my home here in New York. And when I tell you I have gone above and beyond budget, I had no idea that home renovations, like you literally find the next thing that you want to do. Like I literally just completed the whole house and I just got off the phone with my husband and he's like, maybe the garage next, maybe the laundry room next. So I feel like it is a never-ending project and trust me, you will always go over budget. My version of girl math would definitely be about fashion. Okay, so here's the thing. If I'm purchasing something, I have convinced myself that I am spending $1 a day to wear it. So if I'm like, okay, this is a classic piece, we can wear this for years. $1 a day, multiple years, sounds just about right.
Everyone has their strengths and weaknesses when it comes to managing money. What's one thing that you want to get better at in the future?
One of the things that I definitely want to get better at is not being afraid to invest.
Don't be.
I want to get into it. I want to like have a portfolio that's like interesting and that I can have conversations with people about it. Like that's something I want to get better at. I want to get better about learning. Like when I hear about you talking about Wall Street, I'm like, I want to know like all of those things. So I think I might get like one of those like Wall Street for Dummy books.
You can buy my
Trading
book.
and investing.
You could buy my book. That's a selfish plug.
There
but
you go.
I can teach you investing 101.
I will, but those are the things I really want to get into.
Yeah.
I feel like at this point I have money where it's like I don't want it just to sit there and that I want it to actually, money makes money.
Yeah, it does. And there's so many different asset classes that you can invest in. I think people get so fixated on, I'm just going to invest in the stock market. But that's just like the tip of the iceberg.
For sure. And so I know there's still so much more for me to learn, and I'm excited about it.
As you know, this show is called With the Bag to Match. There has always been this dichotomy between treating yourself and saving your dollars. How do you find balance between those two things?
Whew, I think even what we just said right now, like I now have started this new thing of being like, what really matters? And when I spend my money, I try to think big picture. When I think about, so many of us don't realize that the small things end up adding up and becoming big things. My mom told me that she watched an episode of Oprah's show. And she was like, did you know that Oprah signs all of her own checks and she goes over everything she spent? Like, so most of my mom preaching to me as I got older, she's like, you should do the same thing.
Yeah.
And I actually listen to my mom. So I do the same thing, and I sit down with my manager and we'll go through my spending and I'll actually look at everything. And it's so wild when I looked at the fact that like I had all these apps that I was paying for that I had no idea was recurring payments. I'm like, these $24 a month is adding up.
Yeah.
The amount of food that I was ordering that like you end up over ordering, and I'm like, what are all these? And recognizing that there is a difference between having like a luxury experience and just the things that you're being wasteful.
Yep.
And that's how I find the balance, is I don't want to be wasteful with my money. Yes, do I think I work really, really hard and I deserve to splurge on certain things? I need to decide what those things are, and then I need to decide what those things are not. Like, I think even recognizing what makes sense to invest in when you're talking luxury. So I'm like, I will invest in jewelry. That's something that to me is important, and I also recognize it can be passed down and that it doesn't lose its value.
I am a handbag girl, but I tell, even on this set, like I tell everyone, I only buy limited edition handbags.
See?
And the resale value on those are really good, and I can eventually pass it down. And then there are certain brands that we can't name any names, right?
Yes,
so
but they don't hold value at all.
At all. And then there are others that absolutely hold their value, and
some even go up.
No, I have a few. And so there is a market where you can absolutely invest in luxury things and also get a return on your investment.
For sure.
Tell me about some of the other ways you're investing.
I think one of the hugest investments I've ever made was deciding to become an entrepreneur and starting my own fashion line with LeVoot. The first time we ever sold out, and me actually seeing, you you use these apps that they tell you like how much you're selling in real time. And I remember watching us sell out within an hour of launch, and watching literally the investment I made and seeing what I got back. I was like, oh my gosh, why didn't I think of doing this? Investing in myself.
That part.
I was like, oh my gosh.
That is a real investment. And there are many different ways that you can do that. Being an entrepreneur, getting education, self-care. There are many different ways that you can invest in yourself. But investing in yourself is one of the most important things that you can invest in.
For sure. I think it's a never-ending journey of learning, and I'm forever a student, and I think that just makes it that much more fun.
Forever a student, that is the key word. You are always learning.
Always.
Adrienne, thank you so much for being here today. You've truly been inspiring. Your journey and accomplishments speaks volumes in your drive and determination. I'm excited to see what ventures lie ahead for you.
Me too.
And now it's time to dive into the world of finance with our JP Morgan Wealth Management Advisor. Join us as we demystify the financial landscape and help you make it make sense. I'm here with Nina. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Adrienne talked about how her credit took a toll on her financial wellness. How common is it for people to have money in the bank but still find their credit score is lacking?
Oh my gosh, it's so common, and here's why. They live by the notion that cash is king, and most times that is a mind frame that is passed down from generation to generation. In some instances, it could be true, right? And they just don't pay attention to the credit aspect of things. I love how transparent Adrienne was in her story about this.
Very vulnerable,
And what's very interesting is that most people realize that credit is important in the home buying process. And one of the things that I want listeners and viewers to understand is that when you're thinking about home ownership in particular, you've got to look at it like more of a four-legged stool. You've got income, you've got assets, so your reserves, you've got the collateral itself, so the home that you're purchasing, that is underwritten as well, and then you've got credit. And any of those legs on that stool that's missing could tank the whole deal. So think about that. Income, assets, credit, collateral.
Discussing investing in Black and brown communities doesn't happen all that often. What would you say is the biggest hurdle in getting in the community to talk about money more openly?
How many times have we heard it? Don't tell everyone your business, or don't let anyone know your business. That's the thing. Like, we have to be able to talk about it more openly.
Get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
And you know what it is? I think that we tie so much of our wealth to our personal worth and our identity that some people are just like standoffish as it relates to communicating about their money and their intent behind the money and their investment strategy, or what they know or don't know. It's it's been a very sensitive and touchy subject, but I think it's been passed down generationally. The best thing to do is just start talking about it. Even if you just want to start with a financial professional who doesn't know you, who is very objective.
That's not biased.
Not biased.
Professional.
They're just like,
they're here to help.
Here's what I can do to help you, right? And then as you learn more and experience more, then sharing that with your local family or your community, and just have those more transparent and vulnerable conversations around it.
Pass the knowledge on.
That's the name of the game.
There's power in there. Adrienne mentioned tangible investments like home buying and jewelry, but she also mentioned a desire to learn about other forms of investment. Can you give us some examples?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, that's a great question for a JP Morgan Wealth Management Advisor. We have all types of investments at JP Morgan. You can do equities or stocks, bonds, exchange-traded funds, mutual funds. We have our core managed solutions. What a financial advisor will do is, specifically at JP Morgan, is take your goals, take your risk tolerance, and then create an investment strategy based on your goals and risk tolerance and your time horizon, of course.
Nina, as always, I appreciate you so much. I feel like I'm learning more and more, so I just want to say thank you so much for your time today.
Thanks for having me.
That's all we've got for this episode of With the Bag to Match. I want to say thank you to Adrienne for stopping by and lending us all of her insights. I truly enjoyed our chat. And a special shout out to our JP Morgan Wealth Management Advisor, Nina, for making it all make sense. Please don't forget, the bag is far more than just a fashion statement. For us, it's a symbol of financial empowerment. Stop by for our next episode as we get into conversation with more amazing women who built their careers with the bag to match. See you next time.